Okay, my outstanding friends, things are heating up. All of the big space agencies now are talking about life coming to here to Earth on asteroid Bennu. They don't realize asteroid Bennu is a heart, so we're going to get to the heart of the matter. Now, Psyche is another asteroid out in space, which is another heart. Let's look at this closely. They now agree, they understand that they're trying to come around to talk about it, but they're still saying, oh, it just doesn't. Well, let me show you what they do say. Okay, I didn't see where they actually said human DNA was detected in this 2 billion year old meteorite, and I believe they're talking about Bennu. It became a little hard to understand, but they say the new NASA data revives theory that life came from space. I'm going to show you what they're talking about. They're talking about asteroid Bennu, and they went out, landed on it, picked up a piece of it, brought it back here to Earth, and it is 100% for certain. I know exactly what it is, and you will too. Now, they go through all the apologies about how everything is on fringe science, but now, all of a sudden, the new data reveals a once laughed-off idea quite quietly moving into the realm of possibilities. Well, not just possibilities, it's an absolute certainty. See? From punchline to plausible. Now they're starting to say, well, mainstream, well, you know, and they destroyed this Hoyle's reputation in mainstream society, never recovered. They destroyed him for talking about this. And the same thing with Velikovsky, the same thing with me, the same thing with everybody. And but now it's too late for them. Now, they returned with this sample from Bennu, had 14 of the 20 amino acids. They don't just accidentally happen. Had all of the biology that's in muscle. Not only did it have the biology, it has the actual muscle. Let's take a look at it. But it has everything. It says all of the precursors for DNA. But then they say, well, you know, it's a half-baked cake or something. Now listen, Bennu is basically a pantry full of ingredients. It's a chunk of a piece of a heart, said Jason Dworkin, NASA's lead scientist. Now, I've been trying over and over to contact these people, but it wasn't quite the right conditions to make a cake. On Earth, we have a cake, and we don't know why. Well, let's take a look and see what I claim this asteroid to be. Bennu, I know exactly what it is, and you will too. Okay, prepare yourself. These are sarcomeres from a heart attack victim. These little white stripes here are the layers of phosphates, phospholipid membranes, that separate those so they can do this. This is from a heart. Now, the thing they brought back from Bennu is this. The exact same thing, because Bennu is also a heart. And these are the sarcomeres. These are the phospholipid membranes. They're phosphate surprise, they called it. They couldn't figure out why it was here. Well, it's the membranes. If you look close, you can see the actual rope fibers. And these are the things that go around your heart and make your heart do this. Those ropes. And these are the little sarcomeres that pinch like this. And they're in blocks. And in between the blocks, there's separations, which I just showed you in these heart sarcomeres here from Earth. There's no difference whatsoever. The gooey part is weak, and that goes away. And then if it really erodes, all the red stuff in here will go away, and all you'll have is the little tiny connective tissue fibers, and there's thousands of them in each one of these blocks. And they pull together to make your muscle work, and that's a heart here on Earth from a heart attack victim. And there is the heart that came back, has all the amino acids, everything is 100%. How they could miss this? They have a university there. They should have some kind of biologist or somebody there that would look at that and say, hey, You're talking about biology? That's biology. Those are sarcomeres. I can't see how you can miss it. Not only could you not miss it, this is Psyche. That's another asteroid out there. It's another heart. And they break right off here. Right, this basically glues on the plumbing. It breaks right off at the valves. And there it is. And Bennu has the same setup. These are hearts. And they preserve quite well. And they say if they smelted, it would be just nothing but a big ball of metal, which I understand that because blood turns into metals. It's saturated with metals, 100% saturated. Those are the things that carry things around in your body as the metals, primarily transition metals. And these are the valves. And these are the same valves. And when a better shot of this, you can actually see the tubes coming out. Where do I have it there? Here it is right here. You see that? That's a tube coming out. These are hearts. These are the colors of oxygenated blood and deoxygenated. This is a tendon that wraps around to hold the fibers so that it can do this and have an anchor. These are the valves. You see the color and the circle around that? That's because it's a different type of blood. And they push each other apart, the black and the red. You see all the black blood here? These are heart valves. As you can see. Now, is Bennu a heart? Yes. Can I show that? Yes. That circle right there is one of the valves. There's several of them up there. This one here is another one. This is the big one. I think that's, I forget, superior vena cava, something like that. Then there's another tube over here. This is Bennu. Now, when they hit this, they squirted out a whole bunch of nitrogen and they went way down inside. They didn't realize they were going to go down there. They thought they were going to grab a boulder or something, come back with it. They went way down inside and pinched a chunk of the muscle and came back with it. And it is virtually clay. It's virtually clay, just like we are. If you took all the moisture out of it, that's what we would be, is red blood clay. And that's what the Earth is made out of, most of it. Now, these are iron meteorites. That's red blood. Now, I have a meteorite here, right here. I have it in my microscope. We're going to look at it, and it's got blood in it too. You see where I'm pointing down there? That's blood. This just came through the atmosphere, and when they do, all the blood inside remains very, very good in some cases. Now this oops, we're going to be looking at this area here where this strap comes down. We're going to be looking at these areas here where this gnarly looking stuff, wait till I show you this gnarly looking stuff, and it's all over here now. And there's a blood spot right there, and those gnarly looking things, you see them all over the place. And this one just broke right off and was laying on top of a layer of Slurpee. When I show you this, wait till you see this. I'm going to do it right now, and then I'm going to do the microscope stuff in a minute here. Watch that thing turn red blood. You see that? You see that turn red bloody? Now there's going to be some black blood in the center area. You got your red blood is showing up out here. There's some black blood in it because there's usually a vein. Well, there's always a vein and artery, and they don't like each other. Black pushes the red away, so we're going to see that. And I'm going to show you the attachment spots, which are all those little gnarly looking things. And we'll be looking at it in a microscope. I love doing this stuff. And I think I can get a catalase test out of this. I believe this is a vein and an artery here. I have not done it on this. This thing weighs a ton. And it's not solid iron or anything. You have to have an enormous amount of blood to end up getting iron. You know, and it's not iron. It's all kinds of different metals together. Now, I have other ones here. I have another one here that's right here. This is a little iron one. This is actually a lung. And that's what all those little holes are for the alveoli of the lung. This, I'm not sure what it was, but it has dense with iron. And I believe it's probably a liver, possibly a lung or a heart. But this one wasn't big enough to smelt completely like this one. And I did a catalase test on this, and it comes out fine, catalase in there. These meteorites can be tested. And they tested them. They found DNA in them and everything else. And they're admitting to it now. I didn't see where it said human DNA, but they did say DNA, RNA, amino acids, all of the different uracil, everything. And you saw the anatomy is exact. All right, this is one of the meteorites that they're showing. And you see all the red blood splashing out of there? And that's probably an artery. And this red blood is just splashing out of there as it came through. Now, this is also a meteorite. And it's from some attachment that has this style of tendon anthesis. All those little balls. And this is the best one to look at. And as it came through, it boiled and so forth, and it exploded this right here. All right, here's what happened. This piece was all the way out to here. But it was wet blood. Wet red blood was in there. Just like wet red blood came out of there. Now, they boil, and exploded that off. Otherwise, that strap would have come down here and anchored. This is some kind of an anchor spot on the creature's body. What? I don't know. But we got blood here. You know, it's pretty good, and that's saturated, absolutely saturated with blood. And there's a couple other spots, but this is going to be a great spot to look at because this shows where the tendon anchors. And that's where the mineralization. Let me show you, hold on. All right, you see these? This is what happens on tendon anthesis of certain types. You get the strap comes down and it anchors a ball in there like that. This stuff is kind of weak. That stuff's tough. The balls are tough, and they're all over this thing. And this one here had a strap coming down, it looks to me. And that strap came over and anchored a ball right underneath there and just continued on and was a wet piece. And when it came through space, that piece was still attached out to here. And then it hit the zone in space that heats them up, and it just boiled it and blew it off. Because I have another one, a meteorite that is also a body part, and it exploded. And that one there is very, very interesting. So anyway, that we're going to be looking at that. Okay, you ready for this? That's the meteorite, and it's in the microscope. And that's what it looks like right there, if it's like this, which it is. And here it is in a Z microscope. Now, what do we see? All of those little white fibers are those mineralizations. And then there's some blood in along with it. Everything has to be serviced with some form of blood. Now let's come down really right on top of it. Just take a second. Here we go. Boom. You see that? Let me dust that off. Hold on. All right, you see that mineralization? That's right in that tendon enthesis. And then out to the side here, you get to where that's you know, a tough, strappy material that's in between the layers of tendon. And it's burnt off, you know, they're burnt up a little bit. Hold on, let me come down with the light. But that's basically like pleura, like fascia, that type of thing. But it's cooked off a little bit. Let me see if I can get this down here. All right, you see it? Hold on. Oops. All right. That's the type of strappy stuff that's between layers of tissue. And then you come here and you are into your, you know, mineralization. Of course, you got the blood in there. That's just the way everything works. You need blood in everywhere. And you see this stuff here? That's just like my belt. I'm not kidding you. I'm going to show you my belt. You can't tell the difference. Of course, I don't have any blood and tendon like that in there. But all the fabric in your body is basically this. That's the fabric. All right, you see all the little black tags and all the little strappy looking things? You see that? It's just a fabric. All right, now I'm going to show you my belt. Hold on. I'm going to pull this one out of the way. I got to come way down to where my belt is, which is nothing but split cowhide. And it's basically the same thing. You see that? That's what I was just showing you in this meteorite. And that's split cowhide. And then when you get next to one of the belt buckles, you see how many fibers there are in here? It's unbelievable. Every one of those black balls has a fiber. And normally they mat them, and they're in the body, they're matted. But there is literally millions of them. And there's a ton of these black balls. And well, I'm going to show you, I guess. Hold on. You see this? This is the outside surface. All those balls are in there. And then that's the inside surface with all the straps you can see. See how many balls there are? And this is the thickness of the belt. It's not, you know, it's a sturdy belt. But that's what skin is made out of, or hide, or anything. It has all those balls so you can stretch and do this and that, and they all come back to sort of a homogeneous, you know, back to normal. Okay, my friends, nobody on the face of the planet knows how many layers of tissue there is in creatures' bodies except me, because I have seen these enormous number of layers. They categorize them into like 7 or 8 layers or 10 layers or whatever. But there's literally thousands of them. And every layer is separated by a layer of goo. Now the giant creatures had big goo. And this is big goo. Now this is the one that exploded the top off of the other one. And this is a meteorite. Now I'm going to put some water on here. And you'll see how quickly that changes. Look at that. Instantly it becomes red. You see it? and it's bloody. It rehydrates into red blood. Now, and that is some kind of, it's something to do with tendons, because it has that mineralization spot. That's just a piece of stuff that came off my brush. You see that? I would imagine I'd get a pretty good catalase test out of this, which of course I should give it a shot. Let's do it together and see what happens. Now I'll do it right in this area, but I have to move the microscope off. You know, there was no catalase reaction whatsoever. And I put plenty of it on there, and I saw nothing of a catalase. I didn't try it here. But I was wondering about this. There's a vein and an artery here, I'm sure. Now this goes back many years since I cut that. That's got to be 10 years ago. I'm going to try putting a little hydrogen peroxide on. I'll just tell you the result. All right, this is one of the blood vessels that's in this meteorite, and I cut this straight across, like I say, years ago. Now I'm going to put some hydrogen peroxide in there and see if we can get any result whatsoever. Where did it go? Hold on. If we're going to see anything, we should see it if I can find the spot. There it is right there. Wow, look at that. Look at that. I think we're getting foam out of there. Yep, we're getting bubbling. That's out of an asteroid or a meteorite. I'm free-handing this, so it's not easy to do. You can see the bubbling. See the bubbles coming up? You can see them coming up. So we know we got catalase in here. There's no question about that. Now there's another hole right there, this one. I'm going to put some in here. Hold on, let me focus it before I do. Alright. You see all these little tiny, this was just saturated with blood at one time. And it had to be fed with something, and this, I believe, was the feeder. Let's see if we got any catalase going on out of here. Yep, see it bubbling up? I can see bubbles coming up. Wow, it's nothing great. Sometimes it takes a minute or two, but I'm really not seeing anything that I can put my finger on. Don't forget, it did come through space. I would give that a non-reaction. Certainly not anything you could claim. Let's put it that way. All right, this is my little metal lung, and these are the little fibers that are in the pleura, but mostly cooked off. These are alveoli that blew out, and you can see going in. They go in and in and in all over the place. Now I'm going to put a little hydrogen peroxide in there and see if we can get a catalase reaction. I did a while ago, and we got a pretty good one. All right, I got to move this thing out of the way. Let's see what we got. See the bubbles coming up already? See? Now that came through space, but it's so small that it cooked enough to just barely make it magnetic. And it burnt off most of the pleura stuff. But there's still a lot of catalase left in the blood. And it does not like that extra oxygen, pumps it right out. Now I'm going to move over to the pleura. You see that? That's that fabric that coats everything, but it's mostly burnt off. You know, coming through space will do that to you. See how it's still cooking pretty good? Now, the enzyme survived in this. Now the other one I showed you, the big one, it didn't seem to survive in that surface that was outside. We're going down inside the lung where the blood is inside the lung. The other one, the big one I showed you, we were outside in an exposed area, which probably, you know, seared it, let's say. Didn't turn it black or anything, but it caused it to denature the enzyme, just make it not natural anymore. It doesn't work. Okay, this is going to be extremely interesting. This is the catalase test, and I believe this is a human finger, and I believe we are getting catalase reaction. Yep, I'm seeing it, I'm seeing it, I'm seeing it. Let's keep our eye on it for a minute. This also came through space, but I believe, almost 100% certain, this is human. Now this is surface, so. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Yikes. There's a ton of blood in here. Let's just watch that for a second. It's blown up like a balloon. Look at that. Well, because we saw it bubbled like crazy. Now, like I say, this came through space, and I am almost 100% certain this is human. Let me put a little more on there just for fun. Because what it did was it bubbled up so much so quick that it just wiped all of the catalase out. Let it go again. That's just new. That's new hydrogen peroxide. Look at it bubble. That's an extreme reaction. And like I said, I'm almost 100% certain this is a human fingertip. And it's a good size one. And it still has catalase, so it may have who knows what else in there. But I've looked at this very carefully, and I have a terrestrial one that is identical. Alright, I said I have a selection of meteorites here, which I do. And this one here, I believe, is a fingertip. And that came through space, and this is a terrestrial one from here on Earth. Now, you can see this is not cooked off, and this one is. However, the structure is identical. You see that little hook? They're both the same. You see that right there and that right there? Those are the veins. This right here and this right here is the vein. They come up on the sides, and on the other side are the arteries. I call them the digital terminus. And here's where the arteries are. Arteries stay red blood. And there's the artery, artery, artery. See it? Artery, artery, artery. Vein, vein, vein. They don't blow out. The veins don't blow out. They have clamps inside of them. But the red blood drains right out. And look at this thing right here. Look. This is the underneath. There's the same thing right there as this. All right. This one here, though, cooked off right down to its base unit. There's three big, heavy, round straps that strap right to the bottom of the fingertip so you can twist it up and down. You see how they are? This side blew off because it exploded because the red blood stays wet. And that came through space. Now, and I've done a catalase test on it, and there is catalase in here. Now, I'm going to go over my other meteorites in the next video, but this at least get you started. That came through space. I don't care what anybody says. That cooked down inside into the tendon straps that come down. That's an actual anchor with the strap that came out and ran over the top. And I can show you these in, there's like 2 different hooks that hook these in on the sides. Now this one I drilled a hole in to see if I get some DNA, but nobody will do it. So anyway, that's what we got. Next video is going to be my meteorites.